Breaking. Canada reveals 2026 student cap. Thousands will be blocked. Welcome back to Canada Chronicles. Canada has just revealed the official 2026 student cap, and the changes are far bigger than anyone expected. This new national limit doesn't just reduce study permits, it reshapes the entire future of international education in the country. If you're planning to study in Canada, supporting someone who is, or simply trying to understand why thousands of applicants will face tougher barriers next year, this update is crucial. In today's video, we'll break down the real reasons behind the new restrictions, how the PAL and TAL system will determine who gets in and who doesn't, and why provinces are being pushed into their toughest decisions yet. And if you've been wondering what will actually determine which institutions grow and which ones shrink under the 2026 cap, stay tuned until the end. We'll uncover a surprising factor called the hidden capacity trigger that could change everything, and it may completely shift how applicants plan their study strategy for next year. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss important updates that could directly affect your plans. Let's get started. Canada's new 2026 cap exposes a system under pressure. Canada's newly released 2026 international student cap confirms that the system has reached a breaking point. After years of rapid expansion, the federal government now acknowledges that the student pathway grew faster than the infrastructure supporting it. Housing shortages, rising rental costs, crowded transit systems, and increased pressure on municipal services created a mismatch between the number of students entering the country and the capacity of local communities to absorb them. For 2026, Canada has set a limit of 408,000 study permits, combining 155,000 new arrivals and 253,000 extensions for students already in the country. This target is noticeably lower, a 7% decrease from the previous year and a 16% drop compared to 2024. According to federal officials, the cut is part of a broader plan to bring the share of temporary residents below 5% of the national population by the end of 2027. This decision follows years of mounting concerns. Many schools relied heavily on international tuition to fill funding gaps. As institutions grew, the number of students arriving in major cities surged, but housing supply did not. Students found themselves competing with local residents for already limited rental units, often ending up in overcrowded or unsafe accommodations. Municipal governments warned that public services were becoming overwhelmed. These pressures set the stage for the strict 2026 cap. Why thousands will be blocked under the new rules? One of the most significant changes in 2026 is the new exemption for graduate students. Starting on January 1st, 2026, individuals applying to master's and doctoral programs at public designated learning institutions will no longer need a provincial attestation letter or a territorial attestation letter as part of their study permit applications. The federal government says this exemption protects Canada's ability to attract research-driven talent and supports innovation in sectors such as technology, clean energy, health sciences, and advanced research. However, removing graduate students from the regulated group shifts almost the entire burden of the cap onto undergraduate and college applicants. These students must compete for limited PAL and TAL spaces, and only 180,000 permits will be issued in this category for 2026. The demand for permits far exceeds the number available, meaning thousands will be blocked before their applications ever reach the federal immigration system. For the first time, the major barrier is not the approval rate of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada. Instead, the outcome will depend on whether a province decides to grant a PAL or TAL. Applicants who cannot secure one will be unable to move forward, regardless of their qualifications or financial capacity. This makes provincial decisions the new center of power in the student selection process. The hidden fight for PAL and TAL spots begins. To manage the surge in demand, the federal government distributed explicit PAL/TAL targets to each province. Ontario receives 70,074 spaces, Quebec receives 39,474, British Columbia receives 24,786, and Alberta receives 21,582. These numbers reflect past enrollment patterns but also incorporate population-related pressures and local infrastructure capacity. Provinces have also been given application allocations, which determine how many applications they may accept overall. Ontario was assigned 104,780 application spaces, Quebec 93,069, and British Columbia 32,596. These larger numbers allow room for refusals while ensuring the provinces still meet their issued permit targets. Inside each province, a new competition begins. Provincial governments must divide their allocations among public universities, public colleges, private colleges, and specialized schools. Institutions with high approval rates and strong housing support may receive more spaces. Schools with weaker oversight, poor housing options, or inconsistent compliance records may face substantial cuts. This represents a dramatic shift from previous years, when institutions had far greater freedom to grow. In 2026, growth will depend on meeting provincial expectations, community capacity, and institutional performance. Institutions scramble as federal oversight tightens. Public universities with large graduate programs may benefit from the new model. Their master's and doctoral applicants are exempt from PAL/TAL requirements, giving them more flexibility in managing their enrollment. Colleges face a more challenging environment. Many rely heavily on international students, and reduced allocations will force them to adjust their planning, recruitment, and program delivery. Higher documentation standards and stronger monitoring of housing availability mean institutions with limited capacity will be expected to scale down. When distributing allocations, provinces will consider several factors: the availability of student housing, the past approval rates of each institution, compliance with reporting rules for international students, alignment with labor market priorities in industries such as healthcare, transportation, construction, and agriculture, which depend heavily on both temporary foreign workers and permanent residents. Infrastructure limitations in surrounding communities. Institutions located in regions with persistent housing shortages may face strict limits. Some private colleges could see drastic reductions that force them to pause or revise certain programs. The pressure cooker inside Canada's student housing market. The housing crisis is at the center of these reforms. Vacancy rates in key cities remain at historic lows. Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, and Halifax have struggled with rising rents, especially in neighborhoods filled with students. Schools that expanded aggressively often did so without expanding housing, leaving international students to search for accommodation in already crowded markets. Federal officials argue that limiting the number of new study permits is necessary to protect both students and local residents from worsening housing pressures. The government has made it clear that institutions will be expected to demonstrate adequate housing capacity or face tighter limits. Analysts agree that reducing student intake may ease some pressure, but they emphasize that deeper changes are needed. More construction, stronger oversight, and better coordination between governments and institutions are necessary to ensure long-term stability. The real reason immigration, refugees, and Citizenship Canada is cutting numbers again. While housing is a major factor, the deeper issue is the growing size of the temporary resident population. From 2016 to 2023, temporary residents became one of the fastest growing groups in the country, reaching more than 1 million study permit holders by early 2024. By late 2025, the number had dropped to around 725,000, but federal officials maintain that more reductions are needed to ensure the immigration system remains sustainable. Canada's immigration strategy from 2026 to 2028 focuses on reducing reliance on temporary residents while strengthening pathways to permanent residency in critical industries such as healthcare, transportation, trades, and advanced manufacturing. By limiting undergraduate and college-level study permits and prioritizing graduate-level research programs, the government aims to create a more balanced and predictable system. Provinces forced into tough decisions for 2026. Provinces now carry major responsibilities under the new cap. Ontario must regulate a vast network of institutions, many of which grew rapidly during the international student boom. British Columbia continues to tighten oversight of private colleges. Quebec must coordinate its certificate d'acceptation du Quebec system with federal rules. Atlantic provinces with smaller populations face reduced allocations that could affect the sustainability of regional campuses. Each province must weigh educational needs, community capacity, and labor demands. Schools located in areas without sufficient housing or infrastructure may face sharper cuts, while institutions in regions with better capacity may continue to admit more students. The shocking impact on college and undergraduate applicants. Undergraduate and college-level applicants face the toughest environment in years. With limited PAL/TAL spaces and more thorough documentation requirements, small errors may lead to refusals. Applicants must show strong financial capacity, a credible academic plan, and awareness of the program's demands. Graduate applicants gain an advantage under the exemption, but they must still prove they can support themselves financially and succeed in their chosen programs. Thanks for staying with us this far. We appreciate your time and hope you're finding this information valuable. The hidden capacity trigger that could change everything. Beyond the headline numbers lies a powerful mechanism that could reshape the entire 2026 system. Provinces can adjust institutional allocations at any point during the year based on real-time indicators such as rental vacancy rates, pressure on local healthcare, or public transit congestion. This is often referred to as a capacity-based trigger. If a community shows signs of reaching its limit, provinces may reduce PAL/TAL allocations immediately, limiting intake for affected institutions. In areas with stronger housing capacity and healthier infrastructure, unused allocations may be redirected to support local economic needs. For students, understanding these signals could make a major difference. Applying to regions with higher capacity and more predictable approval patterns may significantly improve the likelihood of securing a study permit under the 2026 rules. Canada's new 2026 student cap is more than a policy shift. It represents a fundamental change in how Canada manages international education, population growth, and community capacity. With fewer permits, stricter oversight, and tougher provincial controls, students and institutions must prepare more strategically than ever. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you stay updated on every major immigration change that could impact your future in Canada. Thank you for watching and supporting the channel. See you in the next video.